Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining us at the fire. This is Jill,
And my name is Ben.
and tonight we are so excited to dive right into a very interesting historical topic.
It will be rather historical, but creepy nonetheless. We are discussing the origins of the holiday at the end of this month, Halloween.
What's your favorite Halloween candy, Ben?
I always like it when they handed out pencils.
I always really liked it when they would hand out a toothbrush.
Was it like an unwrapped toothbrush?
I think it was wrapped, I hope.
I'm trying to think the weirdest thing I ever got. You ever get pennies? Some people hand out pennies.
I used to get pennies. One time we got a popcorn ball,
Interesting.
homemade one, so...
Fuck that. So, I know sometimes history doesn't sound like the most fun thing to be talking about.
It's not a sexy subject.
But if you go back far enough, it's all terrifying.
How so?
In the 1800s, even way before that, people, if you even just look at medicine back then, like how they, what classified a person as a surgeon, there weren't like hard definitions around that.
You just kind of wanted to say, I want to learn about the body, and like, here's a cadaver.
Like, I think barbers used to perform surgery.
Oh.
They'd hang the bloody rags out from their shop.
And that's how we got the
spin
pole?
in the wind, and that's how you get the red stripe on the pole. Yep. Little fun fact there.
That's terrifying.
Yeah, that's just
It's
history.
just because you have
that's
the
just the
scissors.
history of that object. Yeah, because
Doesn't
they had
mean
all
you
the
need to-
sharp items.
You don't
Precisely.
need to cut someone open.
If you think about it, the practice of Halloween as we celebrate it today is sort of silly. It's gone so far as to people are just taking their kids to parking lots and rooting around in people's trunks for candy now. Is that right? Do I have this correct?
Yeah, and they're like, I forgot what they're called. They're like candy drive or trunk or treats. That's what they're called.
Trunk or treat.
Trunk or treats. And I think it's because of the whole like stranger danger thing going around. Like, you don't want to take your kids to your you don't know who your neighbor is. You
Well,
wanna take your
still,
kids there.
there are a lot of, I guess, articles out there about, this Halloween sadist myth, this character that dislikes Halloween or children and poisons the treats or puts razor blades in apples, and there just really aren't, everything I read, there aren't any documented cases of that actually happening. That's never occurred in the history of law enforcement.
So how did that Halloween urban legend come to be?
It all started with one man, known as the Candyman, Ronald Clark O'Brien. It was 1974 in Deer Park, Texas. 8-year-old Timothy O'Brien was killed after ingesting a cyanide-laced pixie stick. Opened and then stapled to seal them shut again. Another child struggled to open the candy, saving his life. Going back out with the cops, the boy's father was unable to identify the house where they picked up the poison candy. Soon the police discovered the father had recently taken out a life insurance policy on both of his children. When the police contacted the insurers, they discovered he had called them around 9 a.m., the morning after his son's death, inquiring about the timing of the payout. Upon searching the home, they found powdered cyanide and scissors with plastic residue matching the material of the pixie stick tube. It took the jury 46 minutes to reach a verdict. Ronald Clark O'Brien was sentenced to death. He was executed in 1984.
So it wasn't even a neighbor. This whole urban legend stemmed from a parent poisoning their own child.
which is so much more sick and
Yes.
awful. It wasn't a stranger. And if you know anything about law enforcement or you watch true crime shows, the first suspect is always somebody who was close to the victim.
That is terrible.
But true story, that's when all of that occurred.
So, why do we even give out candy at Halloween?
So like I was saying, it pretty much began as an Irish tradition. Peter Tarkovsky, an assistant professor of folklore and mythology at UCLA, claims, quote, "The earliest trace of Halloween is the Celtic festival, Samhain, which was the Celtic New Year. It was the Day of the Dead, and they believed the souls of the deceased would be available. Samhain means summer's end, and marked the beginning of winter, a period that was associated with death at the time. The Druids believed that our world and the spirit world became the closest on this day, and that the spirits of those that had passed the previous year would get to roam the earth. They sacrificed crops and animals as offerings to the spirits, and they left food outside their doorsteps. People dressed up as spirits and other kinds of demons when they went out into public to disguise themselves so they would trick the spirits that they were one of them. In the 1st century, the Romans introduced the Christian influence of the holiday, claiming that the following day of Samhain, November 1st, would be All Saints' Day. Therefore, October 31st became known as All Hallows' Eve, which soon became Halloween. So it wasn't until the late 19th century when it became more of a community-centered holiday, and then in the 1950s it was all about the children and, it became a multi-million-dollar industry and kind of the commercialized bullshit holiday it is today.
So initially, Halloween was really about honoring one of the Halloween costume staples, the ghost. So I'm wondering, when did we start to branch out into just dressing up as, idols or other pop culture icons?
The one I read it on a .edu site. It was a part of some professors writing for a class. Apparently the people dressed up as things more than spirits. It said at times goblins and demons even. These were things that people believed in at that time.
I'm just wondering about how did we go from dressing up like ghosts and demons and spirits to dressing up like Britney Spears and Taco Bell hot sauce packets. The message is it's really interesting to see how much the message of the holiday has changed over the years and how much we integrate it into our pop culture.
Well, it's interesting that you say that. It's just how anything, I think, gets bastardized over time. The tradition was you dress up like the spirits, so you blend in along with them, and that soon became you just need a costume. And then that became, all right, well, a costume can be fucking anything. How about
a loofah?
How about a loofah? How about a pair of breasts? You seen that costume?
Yeah, I think we dressed
People,
up as that one year.
Do the balloon in the shirt? Yeah. So it's just a fun, I guess, another fun-spirited. It's a solely American holiday.
Yeah, it's
I believe.
modern day twist on an old European holiday.
Yeah.
The pumpkin carving or tradition of jack-o'-lanterns is also of Irish heritage. The legend goes, old Stingy Jack, the drunk, invited the devil out for a drink. Of course, old Stingy Jack didn't want to pick up the tab, so he talked the devil into turning himself into a silver coin to pay for the check. But once the bill was settled, old Stingy Jack put the coin in his pocket, but not before putting a coin with a cross drawn on it in there. The cross kept the devil trapped inside of old Stingy Jack's pocket. After a few days, old Stingy Jack was tired of keeping the devil trapped in there, and he agreed to release him, but only if he promised not to claim his soul after he passes. The devil agrees and is set free. But one day, when old Stingy finally croaks, he's sent away from the pearly gates, It seems his morals did not fit those who should be spending an eternity in heaven. So he was sent to hell, where the devil had held up his end of the bargain and turned Stingy away at the gates of hell, but not before giving him a single piece of burning coal to light his path in his own personal eternity of damnation on earth. So Stingy, not wanting to burn his fingers, carved out an old turnip into a lamp, and it housed his piece of coal while it lit his way as he wandered the earth alone forever. Over time, children put lights inside of other gourds, and of course the most popular one is the pumpkin. But these help light Stingy Jack's way as he roams the world forever. And I wonder, if you don't put a light out on the porch on the anniversary of his death, All Hallows Eve, will he come to claim your soul to wander the earth with him for eternity? So it makes you think twice about not wanting to carve pumpkins to set out on the front porch, huh?
Yeah, definitely got to get that on my to-do list.
No, carving pumpkins is a pain. And it's messy.
You can buy one of those pre-carved, pre-lit. I bet that would fool Stingy Jack.
Yeah.
I bet he doesn't know.
He
Stingy
probably-
Jack?
Stingy.
Stingy?
He was stingy. That's why he didn't want to pay for his beverage with the devil. Have you seen one of these coal turnips?
No.
We'll put a picture up on the site. It's actually kind of scary. It's
These are a thing.
yeah. Search
Do I search coal turnip?
turnip jack-o'-lantern.
All right, we're bringing it up now. What the fuck? Oh my god. They all look... yeah. This one has jagged teeth. They all look like, I guess, shrunken heads. Like mummies. If you said we found this in a tomb in Cairo, I would believe you.
It's Stingy Jack.
Again, with the goofy holiday traditions, this is one of them. Carving a gourd and throwing a candle in there and throwing it outside.
But they're so festive.
I mean, that's how you celebrate the holiday. That legend has to be hundreds of years old.
I think I read somewhere it's like, I don't know.
How does something like that come about? Somebody just imagines this up. and
Well,
starts
maybe they
telling
couldn't
it
afford a
around.
lamp, so and someone was like, "Oh, why do you have that turnip with a coal in it?"
And I tell you what, I'm dead. And I gotta carry this fucking thing around.
Oh, and then they're like, "Have you heard the tale of Stingy Jack?" Not, I'm dead. It's not how a legend starts. You don't start the legend by going, "I'm dead."
Well, it is weird. It's a weird practice, much like putting trees in our living room on Christmas. It's an odd thing to do.
Oh, Tannenbaum.
It's an odd thing to do. Get what you call it.
Sap everywhere. So, another shifting mentality that I've noticed are people's attention to detail when decorating. Have you seen some of these Halloween decorations people are putting out? Not only in like haunted houses and commercial areas, but just private residences.
Yeah, it's funny that you say that. That one of the headlines that sort of always attracts a lot of attention this time of year are, sadly, the crime scenes that are sometimes mistaken for Halloween decorations. Whether you know it or not, this has sort of been prevalent in the news the last couple of years. I found a couple interesting cases, I suppose. One was the murder of Patricia Ward. This was a woman from New York who allegedly was beheaded by her mentally unstable son. And then she was dragged into the middle of the street outside of her home. And the head rolled across the street where they found it. It was mistaken for a Halloween prank. The body was discovered by a neighbor that came out to, move the body out at the middle of the road and discovered, holy shit, this is an actual dead body. this is not a
That's
prop.
traumatizing.
Yeah, I do have a news clip. I don't know if we want to use any of it, but
Yeah, let's listen.
Today, workers cleaned the blood off the steps leading to the lobby of 130 Secatog in Farmingdale. Nassau County Police say last night, 66-year-old Patricia Ward was beheaded in her second-floor apartment, then her body and head dragged down the steps. A longtime professor of English at Farmingdale College, detectives say Ms. Ward was killed by her son, 35-year-old Derek Ward. Police say last night he placed her headless body perpendicular to the curb. Her head was found across the street. It was a crime so gruesome, some who saw it thought it was a Halloween hoax. Dale Silverman had just left a nearby parking lot heading home last night when she saw Ms. Ward's headless body and severed head.
And I assumed it was a stupid Halloween prank and the cops were going to be furious that somebody would do this. That's what I put in my head.
brutal.
I wonder how often that kind of thing happens.
Another instance, the murder of Rebecca Cade. This name may not sound familiar, but I remember this story getting a lot of attention. This was a dead body in Ohio that was hung up on a chain link fence that was mistaken for a Halloween decoration. Later found out it was a woman that had been murdered.
Oh, man.
Let's listen to the story.
Another part of Ohio already dealing with a possible serial killer has an answer to a separate but grisly murder. Investigators say Rebecca Cade was the woman who was found hanging from a chain link fence in Chillicothe. They say she tried running away from her attacker, who police have ID'd as Donnie Kochenauer Jr. when she got caught up in a fence. Officers say he beat Cade to death with a rock. Some neighbors thought it was a Halloween decoration at the time. Cade was 31 years old.
Makes you wonder, how long does the body go unreported because it's thought to be a decoration?
48 hours.
I wasn't knowing it.
That's my best guess.
Yeah, it's not a riddle, but no, like it just, I bet it just takes the right kind of person to see something like that to go, like, if you think you should maybe call the cops, probably just call the cops.
Yeah, I don't know. That one from Long Island where the neighbor went up and physically tried to move the body. Ooh,
Like,
that's one scary way to find out.
That's how convinced he was.
She was.
That's how convinced they were that it was a prop, a hoax.
Thank you all for joining us this week at the fire. Make sure that you tune in next week for part 1 of Halloween Urban Legends. So today we discussed the origins, but now we want to get down to some of the stories behind your favorite Halloween stories.
It's the perfect time to submit your story.
Thank you again for joining us tonight at the fire. We hope to have you back next week. This is Jill.
And my name is Ben.
And everybody sleep tight. Don't forget to light those jack-o'-lanterns to keep old Stingy away at night.